Well,
That doesn't,
it's over now.
I was getting to that.
Yeah.
I was getting to what your
Yeah.
question is. So they are free to discuss now if they choose, or they don't have to.
I would love to know why Maggie voted for it, or Jimmy, or
Since
Mike.
there's likely going to be an appeal, that maybe as of right now, it may not be wise for them to discuss it. Just because of what may happen when it goes up to court on appeal. I don't know.
Would anybody like to tell me why they voted the way they did? Or all these people who keep coming out?
Jason, I voted the way I did because once we decided that we were exclusionary, and my opinion is this is not done yet, we had to act on amending a curative amendment for that.
Okay.
And that's why I voted the way I did.
Did you consider amending the M2 so that we could get a smaller plant for our town?
I thought about that too, but I also thought about the fact that 3 or 4 smaller plants could then go in the M2, and we would be in the same boat.
See, that's because I think you got.
Because, don't forget, there are people in the M2 who will sell their land for the right amount of money.
Was that evidence on the record?
No, he's asking for my
No,
feelings.
no, I appreciate what you said. Actually, I think you got bad legal advice, because actually, the 2,000-foot setback would have made it.
Is there any further?
There was only a 2,000. There was only a 12-acre spot.
We'd have to change that. We'd have to change the setback to put anything there. That was part of the thing that was put before us, to
Understand.
change the setback, the height, and the enclosure restrictions.
I appreciate you answering.
Too close for me.
Anybody else? Jim?
Discussion, Maggie just said, that was a discussion we had.
Then I have one other outstanding question. Someone had asked about Marvin Broder, who, I believe it was Holly, who we understood was under retainer throughout the entire process. I'm just wondering how many times you guys got a chance to meet with him?
They met, none really. Council met with him, I'm gonna go on record and say this. Council met with him one time, and it was prior to the hearings commencing. It was after his contract was approved, on April 2nd or 3rd. It was prior to the hearings started. They have never met with him again after that. At the time, he was only brought in to be on board in the event he was needed, as maybe as a consult to me, as the solicitor, but he has never met with them.
So he didn't give any opinion in a meeting like that? He didn't talk about the M2
He
versus
gave them no opinion,
No opinion? Okay.
not at this point.
Thank you.
Now, he may become very useful through the remainder of the process, since it looks like we're headed there.
Okay.
But when we met with him, it was done under executive guise of anticipated litigation, as an expert, as our planning consultant. And he did nothing more than discuss the basis of his fees and his services, and very briefly go over the procedures of the curative amendment process. Just telling them, here's what it's about, here's what the law says you need to do, sort of as backup to me.
Okay.
But that was all it was.
Okay. Thank you. Maggie, thank you for your answer.
State your name, please.
Tom Fiorelli, 1117 Church Street. I just had a question similar to Jason's, that Maggie had expressed why she voted that way. Did you have any professional advisement from a zoning expert to make that type of decision?
We went on the hearings and the briefs.
Okay, so the decision was made that the borough hire no independent experts, zoning experts, to consult. Invenergy's saying one thing, the citizens are saying another thing, but the borough did not choose to hire an expert for consultation. Whose decision was that?
I don't know if it was anyone's decision personally.
So the borough did not choose to hire an independent expert
My understanding,
to
Tom,
defend its own ordinance.
once the hearing started, we could not talk to anybody outside of who gave testimony at the hearing. And that's why we did not pursue that.
But you could have hired experts that could have been cross-examined, that you chose not to. Personally, I feel that's a breach of fiduciary responsibility. That's ridiculous, to change a zone in that fashion and not hire an expert. Rick, I'm extremely disappointed that you would not advise me to do that, and I want that on the record. The other thing I want on the record is, when Marvin Broder was here, and I'll ask everyone, Maggie, Jimmy, Joe Mulatto, Mr. Gasper, did you talk about zoning with Marvin Broder? Did he talk about the M2 zone and the rest of the zones? Did you talk about zoning?
Yeah.
You talked
Joe,
about
tell him
zoning.
what we talked about. Tell him he just told me in the back room you acknowledged. Tell
Yeah, well, like, I am, we talked about zoning,
him. Zoning.
Zoning.
that Marvin Broder said that you could write that whatever way you wanted to, you could put it in writing, and Randy asked a million questions.
In general terms.
Right.
He said, this is what the cure is about. You could accept the cure, you could deny the cure, you could come up with your own cure.
No, I don't know, Solicitor Finucci, that
Sure.
sounds about specific M2,
Tell him what was
M1A,
discussed.
James zone,
We didn't even have any facts at that point.
but he was here and you
He
talked
sat in the
about it.
chair, everybody asked questions, he answered them.
That sounds like an expert being here that wasn't a part of the curative amendment
He's our
process.
No, he's our expert.
But he
He's our-
advised these council.
General zoning procedures on the curative amendment. I already said that.
And what date was that meeting, Solicitor?
April.
22nd, 20th?
22nd, maybe.
Oh.
20th, maybe the 20th.
Okay. Okay, no
It was
further
prior to the
questions.
hearing, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, again, I want on the record that, you know, Dr. Broder was here and we did discuss it.
It was after they hired him. Dr. Broder sent me his retainer agreement. I gave it over to Sharon, and they approved it at the April meeting, so that was him coming in to still discuss, his,
Did he submit a bill for his services?
I'm sure he did.
Okay, would we be able to get a copy
Put
of
in a
that?
right to know.
Or right to know?
Yeah, tell
Okay.
him Sharon exactly what you're looking for.
Okay, and again, just on the record, I think it's extremely poor to not have hired your own experts to advise you on this such crucial decision. Thank you.
How do you generally speak about it?
Anybody else?
Yep. Well,
Sorry, Chair Cornella, I wanted to ask you guys to reconsider your decision to change the meeting based on the tenuous situation and the fact that the election is before where you're scheduling the meeting. I think that's a bad decision because I think the public needs to know what's going on, and any bit of information that they can get prior to the election is very important. And I think the fact that you're changing it less than 30 days before is a bad decision, so I'm asking you to change that decision.
Actually, was there any public comment before that vote? I don't believe so.
The advice they got, who said that, Jason?
Yeah, there was no
The
public.
advice they got was they didn't even need a motion to do that, because it's administrative,
Oh,
but
okay.
if you would like,
No, I got
like to, we'll be, I'll advise them to redo it.
well, Jim did ask if nobody wanted to comment.
I
There
didn't
was
know.
comment.
There was no, but Jim did ask.
I didn't
And
hear
nobody wanted to comment.
We can't hear her. No. Can't hear anything.
I didn't hear that.
Sorry, we didn't hear you, but given the fact that it's less than 30 days' notice and it's right before, and the meeting should be right before an election, I am asking you to change that decision.
Especially if there's anything important about the inventor team.
I'm seeing a lot of blank faces. I don't know if it's guilt, concern, want.
Anybody else want to speak?
Could I ask one more question? Did you hire a new person to check the properties and you said, I forgot what his name is. He renamed them. Bobby Grunzer, last year he renamed. He's still doing the job?
He's resigning, he was waiting for us to hire, to find someone to make.
Oh, but so far you didn't get anybody new? Okay. Huh? Oh, okay, because the last time you said he was leaving and you were gonna. Okay.
Anybody else want to speak?
Jeanine Pavel on 407 4th Avenue. This is pursuant to some right to knows. Well, before I get to that, this is following up with something that was brought up at the last Borough Council meeting. Was the gaming grant applied for? It was applied for. Signed off by the Borough of Jessup. And does council acknowledge seeing and reading my letter of September 30th, 2015 regarding information that was vetted and put into that letter and sent out to DCED before signing off on that grant?
That's not a letter.
I just thought, no.
You read it? No concerns with signing off on that grant? None at all? So who is the, pursuant to Mr. O'Connell, he and I were present at the Jessup Planning Commission meeting. He wrote an article and it was published the next day in the Scranton Times. So I'll follow up with that, where he mentioned, speaking to Ray Angeli, about a mysterious investor who's going to be putting up the money. So I'm assuming, since Jessup has taken responsibility for filing state filings, that you have to swear off into. So who are you signing off for? Who are the people involved? That's public knowledge. That's a public grant you apply for. Who are the developers? Who are the owners? What are the names?
Yes.
I mean, we followed up on the record. I sent a letter. I don't think I'm asking something that is beyond the realm of answering. You signed off on a grant. You said Borough of Jessup. You verified. You vouched for this person. Who is it?
Yes.
Who is it?
Who is it?
Besides Ray Angeli, because we acknowledged to this reporter sitting here that there was other people involved that he wasn't going to name. Who are they? I mean, we vouched. Who are they? Are they felons? Are they criminals? That was part of my letter. Who are the people?
Yeah, who are
Did we
they?
run a criminal background check? Did we make sure they have proper authority? Do they have the proper credentials? I mean, what? I don't know. I'm not asking. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. But these are legitimate questions following up from the last meeting. Who are they? Are we not going to answer?
They're not gonna answer.
And that's, I think, the issue, Maggie. You were under the impression. And I think that's what you were left with, was being under the impression. What I'm saying is, who was there follow-up done, because it was brought up on the record. I even said, don't vote on it. You guys did, which was fine. But I asked for further follow-up before you sign off officially on this grant. So one, who signed off on the grant? And two, who are the people? Two simple questions.
Can we find out who that was?
We know who the landowner is. The landowner is Pompey Coal Company,
Okay.
and that's what the grant was applied for. Ray Angeli as the developer,
For Pompey Coal.
to develop the property under an option to purchase it off of Pompey Coal.
Who is the
We
person
knew
putting
that
up the
all
money
along.
that you wouldn't
I-
name?
We don't know that.
Why wouldn't you ask that? That was in the paper next day?
We're interested in developing the land. We want to see the land developed.
Well, I want my land developed too. Can I get taxpayer money? Will you apply for land for me?
Maybe, put in a proposal.
Okay.
Wow.
I'll do that.
Oh my God.
Commonly done.
Wow.
For Pompeii, yeah.
It's been
They got a
abandoned-
ton of grant money.
Abandoned land scarred mine for 50
Yeah.
years.
I don't
We
believe it.
want to see it developed, particularly residences.
Slipco had 20 years to develop it. We pulled the
Slipco has nothing to
meetings.
do with that land.
Well, sure
This is
they
the land
did.
behind the
Austin
house.
Burke is on the record talking about that
This is
land
the old Winton
in
Coal.
2001.
That has nothing to do with that.
Sure it is. It's exactly, he talks about it in the meeting. Talks about it in the minutes.
Not behind the host company.
Next, I filed a right to know regarding any and all bills and invoices. For KVA engineering, I did acknowledge, I got back on October 2nd, a request for 30 days on the response. I'm wondering why 30 days, and I submitted 2 right to knows, I know other people did as well. For Solicitor Finucci's bills, I certainly understand there's possible attorney-client privilege you must go through, so the 30 days is legitimate for that. I don't know necessarily that it's legitimate for KVA engineering. I mean, that's simple. We should have a file on KVA engineering. What payments were made, what invoices have they submitted? I only went back 3 years, which is within the reasonableness of the law. So I'm wondering why the 30 days?
Well, wasn't there several responses given?
They were all
as to why?
separate.
They were all separate. I only submitted 2.
No, under KVA.
No, there's only one.
For KVA, there was 1 for KVA.
Wasn't the response you got in KVA?
A timely response cannot be
For the
accomplished
following reasons.
due to bona fide and specified staffing limitations was 1, yes. And the extent or nature of the request precludes a response within the required time period.
Right.
My question is, because that's where I'm gonna be honest, if they're a vendor, which they are, they're a vendor, we pay them. They should have a little file, KD Engineering or a spreadsheet, should be easy to pull up. I'm wondering why it's going to take 30 days
I
to
think
get
it was
this.
the way your request was worded. Didn't you ask for, there was a lot of things that you put in the same request, canceled checks being one of them, which the canceled checks we don't receive, so they have to be retrieved.
Okay, so can I take it without cancel checks?
No, we respond one request at one time. There's no piecemeal responses. Unless it's denied, unless it's in part denied, but yours wasn't.
So you're gonna take 30 days from the September 25th of when it was submitted, or from your response?
The right to know law says it goes 30 days from the 5 days, from whatever the 5-day deadline is.
And do I have to submit, I guess, a right to know on the grant application to see what you guys put in there and what you submitted to DCED?
Sure you can.
Anyone else want to speak?
Jeff Smith, 913 Church Street. I'm just going to ask that you do reschedule the meeting for the original time, just so the other council members have a chance to be heard or to be asked the questions. It takes a lot of courage for you four to sit up there and face these questions month after month. I think that we should have it before the election, and I think that it would be relevant for them to face the questions the way you guys have to. So if you could reopen that and please bring the meeting back to the appropriate time. I've been here when Rick couldn't make meetings before. You guys you don't need him. You can handle a simple meeting and move forward. So I'm asking just to step out, change the meeting time back. It'll make things a lot easier, a lot clearer if you guys do that. I also appreciate if you did talk to a zoning expert a little bit, that you did make yourself available to ask questions. So if you could please reconsider that, the time of the meeting.
Rick, is there anything that says we can't have 2 meetings? To do the budget when you're available?
Your biggest thing on your plate is the budget.
Right.
The second biggest thing is this, these pension things.
Maybe a normal meeting and then a budgetary meeting.
So,
Well, why don't we keep the regular meeting, and then just for the budget, we'll keep the 5th and the 9th.
and other business?
No. No.
That's a great compromise. Thank you, Maggie.
I mean, I know we need you here for the budget and the police pension, you know that. But if there's no objection having 2, no, they wanna leave it for the regular meeting and then have another one on the 9th.
Your call.
I make a motion, we keep the regular meeting, and then for the budget, we'll move it to the 5th and the 9th.
I'll second.
Thanks,
Maggie
Michael.
Looney, Michael Gasper,
What?
Joe Malato,
Or,
Jim Demosa.
Anybody else? Not there, motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
okay.